I don't have a jersey to give to you. Sorry, like I don't have a jersey to swap, but we'll figure that part out later because the Magic have found ways to dominate opponents again. What the Magic are doing to win these games, we'll get to that on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is March 18th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, no jerseys to swap, kids. We see you there. No jerseys to swap, but we are going to chat about how the Magic have found their ability to surge in these last three games, what trend the Magic are reversing, and what lineup has established itself as one of the best the Magic have had all year. We will talk about the Magic starting five coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, this great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. The Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Orlando Magic, a week ago, we were sitting here kind of at the lowest of lows for this team in a while. The Magic had just lost to the Indiana Pacers. They had these two big losses to two teams that they're fighting with in the standings. And it felt like things were really low. And if you're feeling low, just imagine how the team was feeling. In fact, they all kind of looked and assessed that game against the Pacers more specifically and said, the third quarter was where we lost it. Yes, the Magic had given up the lead, but they still led at the half. As much as that game against the Pacers was a blowout, it really wasn't until the third quarter. And the third quarter has been an area where the Magic have struggled all year. It's something you expect from young teams, maybe not knowing how to come out of the locker room, come out of halftime with their best foot forward. And so one thing we know about this group and one thing we know about this team is when they see a problem and they resolve to solve it, this team has typically found a way to solve it. You know, you don't get to 40-28. The Magic won tonight, by the way. You don't get to 40-28 without being able to solve some of your own problems by not being able to say, okay, we are struggling in this area. Let's fix it. And yes, I know Brooklyn, Toronto, not the strongest opponents here for this three-game win streak. But nevertheless, the Magic saw an issue and they attacked it. And the blowout win over the Nets, they dominated the third quarter to pull away and to make that game a bigger deficit. In the game against the Toronto Raptors on Friday, the Magic got 11 points and 4 assists from Paolo Banchero in the third quarter to pull away and win that one. And then again on Sunday, once again on Sunday, as I pull open the stat sheet here, the Magic dominate the third quarter, winning at 35-26, getting 14 points from Paolo Banchero on 2-for-2 shooting from three, by the way, and make what was a relatively close game into what was essentially a blowout. If you're looking for a sign of what good teams do, good teams put their foot down in the second half. They may play with their food. They may feel things out in the first half. But in the second half, in the third quarter, coming out of that locker room, they come out on fire. And the Magic knew they got by the Indiana Pacers in that game last Sunday. They knew that the Pacers thumped them. And so what have the Magic done in the last 3 games? They've won the third quarter. For the season, actually, Orlando is 19th in the league in third quarter net rating. They score 114.1 points per 100 possessions, 114.2, give up 114.2 points per 100 possessions. So they break about even in the third quarters. And again, that is the sign of a young team. Sometimes young teams don't know how to respond coming out of the locker room, coming out of the half. And in fact, if you look at that number, the Magic have the worst third quarter net rating among all teams currently in the playoff picture. Except for Atlanta. Atlanta's got a worse third quarter net rating. Again, it's an area where the Magic have shown their youth, especially defensively. You could see that the Magic's offense actually does better in the third quarters than their average, but defensively, they've been giving up a lot. In their last 3 games, however, the Magic have the best net rating. In 3 games, small sample, opponents, grant you all that. But in the last 3 games, Orlando is scoring 132.9 points per 100 possessions in the third quarter and giving up just 96.1 points per 100 possessions. Obviously, these are huge outlier stats. They are huge deviations from the Magic's medians and averages, but it's a statement of how the Magic are starting to gain some maturity. And we've noticed this throughout the whole year. We've pointed to these moments of like, okay, this is something that this team's going to have to learn how to do and get better at. And it's a sign of maturity that they've figured some of this stuff out. Because this is a young team that will make mistakes. The Magic are a young team that will make mistakes. And here they are solving one of these mistakes. Here they are solving one of their problems. Here they are in games that are in the balance, games the Magic have to win. As much as I think we want those Indiana, New York type games, and the Magic are going to have to win those types of games too, the must-win games are actually these games. Against your Torontos, against your Brooklyns, against your Charlottes coming up on Tuesday. These are the games you have to win. You have to take care of your business. And, you know, if you listen to my pod on Friday, come after the Magic's win over the Raptors in Toronto, I said, you know, the Magic are playing to a standard more than they're playing against an opponent at this point. They've got to play to their standard. And in my estimation, they did not do that on Friday as consistently as you would like. I would say in the first half of this game, they did not do that. But in the second half, they did. In the second half, they put their foot down. This game was over. After the Magic made their push in the third quarter, with the way that the Magic dominated the third quarter of this game, it was over. Toronto was not coming back. And again, that's a credit to Paolo Banchero, credit to Franz Wagner, credit to Jalen Suggs, credit to so many players who played at such a high level, who gave the Magic exactly what they needed. This was an impressive victory. And it was impressive because of how ho-hum it felt and how the Magic locked in the second half and took care of their business. Because at the end of the day, the Magic beat the Raptors 59-49 in the second half. To give up just 96 points, obviously, give up 49 points. The Magic's defense was always on point. You know, if you're looking for adjustments, if you wanted to take this as a semi-playoff series, the Raptors had 36 fast break points in the game on Friday. They score just 16 on 5 for 13 shooting. Defense a lot better. They give up just 48 points in the paint to the Magic 60. Orlando got the shots they wanted. Even though Orlando did not make threes, 11 for 36 from 3, it did not affect their offense significantly. There's a lot of frustration. I'm not going to lie about that. And, you know, the game was close throughout the first half, and Orlando played with their food a little bit. We're going to talk about the starters here in a minute. The Magic raced out to an early lead and then let go of the rope a little bit offensively. So a rough night for some players on that end. Again, we'll get to the box score here in a minute. But the Magic put their foot down in the third quarter. That's what good teams do. In these kind of games, look, I visited my family at halftime. You know, the Magic were up 5. They were like, how's, I was like, Magic aren't playing so great right now. They're like, oh, are the Magic going to win? I'm like, yeah, they'll probably put their foot down in the third quarter and run away with this thing. That's what they did. That's what we expect them to do. That's what good teams do in these situations. And ever since giving up their lead against the Pistons in Detroit, and that was a big turning point. Again, Magic have been bad in third quarters throughout the year. This has been something the Magic have gotten better at. This is something that the Magic have improved at. And this is something that's going to be a key for the Magic as they get ready for the playoffs. Because we've talked a little bit on here, at least, about closing quarters. I know I've talked about a lot on Twitter in-game. The ability to close quarters is critical. The ability to start the second half is also critical because that can shift momentum dramatically. It did for the Pacers last week, and it's done for the Magic these last 3 games. Those third quarter surges, though, are powered by perhaps the Magic's secret weapon, but it's not so secret anymore, why the Magic's starting lineup has taken a major step forward and why the Magic have found the group that works. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at LinkedIn. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals who are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help you find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire. LinkedIn is constantly finding ways to make that process easier. They even just launched a new feature that helps you write job descriptions, making that process even easier and quicker. 2.5 small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel, which you can now find on YouTube, as well as on Amazon Fire TV. Baseball fans, Rays fans, Marlins fans, whatever fans, mark your calendars for March 20th. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the best MLB season preview coming exclusively to Locked On Sports Today on March 20th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Be the first to get local insight from the MLB local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network. Find it again on March 20th. That's Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. So, we talk about this third quarter surge, and really it's over the last 3 games, Magic have become a better third quarter team. It has been a struggle all year. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's always been good and it's always been this good. No, this has been something the Magic have struggled with. It's something they've had to focus on. It's something they've had to get better at. And a lot of this is tied to another big issue. With all the injuries the Magic have had, they have not always had the most consistent starting lineup. Their best stretches of the year have been when they have the same starting 5 every single night. They've struggled sometimes to find it. It started off with Markelle Fultz and Jalen Suggs in the backcourt. Then Anthony Black and Goga Bitadze entered because of injury. Then it was Wendell Carter. Then it was back to Markelle Fultz. Then it was Suggs and Black, or Suggs and someone else, or Gary, and then Gary Harris jumped in. That turns out to be the key, though. Gary Harris, the starting lineup that the Magic are currently using, Gary Harris, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, Wendell Carter, has proven to be really effective. And if you're looking even more specifically at Sunday's game against the Raptors, the starting lineup is a big reason why the Magic won. Orlando opened the game 18-8 to take an early 10-point lead. They opened the third quarter with a 9-1 run to push the lead from 5 to 13 points, and it got under 10 one or two more times so after that. But the Magic essentially held that lead for the rest of the game. At the very least, what we can say is the starters did their job. And on Sunday, they won their minutes about 12 and a quarter minutes 33-22. A 122 offensive rating, 81.5 defensive rating. Again, 33-22. It's such a small sample. We should probably just use the raw score. They shot 56.5% in those 12 minutes together. It worked on Sunday. And in fact, it's worked throughout the course of the season. The Magic starting group, the Magic are 9-0 when Gary Harris, Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Wendell Carter start. If you remember, Jalen Suggs missed the game against the Knicks and the Pistons. So therefore, the start, who knows how much Jalen Suggs' absence had on the team, especially because he's turned into such a reliable shooter. We'll get to the box score. We'll talk about what individuals did. But what this group is doing as a unit deserves its own mention. Because what happened on Sunday is not unusual. In 165 minutes across just 12 games, so still very small sample, the Magic have a plus 19.6 net rating. That is a 117.3 offensive rating, 97.7 defensive rating. The Magic are starting games with elite defense and pretty good offense, above average offense. In a lot of ways, so much of this group just fits together. We all wonder where the Magic are going to find shooting. Well, Gary Harris is one of the best shooters on the team. I know he did not shoot the ball well on Sunday, so maybe saying that is a bit overbearing. He's 1 for 7 on threes on Sunday, but the Magic trust Gary Harris to be an excellent shooter. And at this point, he is as much valuable for his threat of shooting as anything else because defenses respect his shot. Wendell Carter can shoot. Jalen Suggs can shoot. Franz Wagner is not shooting well, but he can theoretically shoot. Paolo Banchero is a better three-point shooter this year. And so you add in the versatility that the Magic have on offense with the versatility they now bring defensively. Obviously, Suggs is flying around. They can switch almost 1 through 5 with that group. That team and that unit works. The Magic have only 3 lineups, or have only 2 lineups that have played better than that that have played more than 48 minutes this year, that have played a full game together. Those lineups are the bench lineup with Anthony Black instead of Markelle Fultz, and then their usual transition lineup with Gary Harrison, Franz Wagner, with Jonathan Isaac, Mo Wagner, and Cole Anthony. This starting lineup works. And really, they've been excellent this entire season. They've obviously played most of their minutes after the All-Star break. They have found it, and it's working. And it's a group that, now that they've had 8-9 games together starting, you can start seeing the trust develop. You can start seeing them making more advanced reads and playing much freer, looser, and confidently. And that only makes them better. Now, granted, the Magic have not played a ton of great teams since the All-Star break. They got the Cavs coming out of the break. That game's a crapshoot game. They had the Knicks. They had the Pacers. It's been a pretty easy road for the Magic here. And it's going to get tough starting Thursday. The Magic have the Hornets on Tuesday. Then they play New Orleans, Sacramento, Warriors, and the Clippers. 4 Western Conference playoff teams. So they're going to get tested. We're going to learn a lot about this team and whether they will be able to stand firm. But here's the thing. Having a strong starting lineup matters because in the playoffs, you tend to lean on your starters more. As much as I think Jamal Mosley is going to try and stick to a regular rotation, when we get to the playoffs, he's going to have to break that a little bit. It's going to be hard to play a 10-man rotation in the playoffs. He's going to have to make sure that one of Paolo or Franz is on the floor at all times. Certainly, stretching Jalen Suggs' minutes or stretching Jonathan Isaac's minutes is going to be key. But one thing the Magic should be able to rely on is that their starting group is going to give them a chance to win. Their starting lineup is not going to get blown out, is not going to lose them games. And so what might cost them in the playoffs is sure, late game situations, all that stuff. What might end up costing them in the playoffs is how those rotations are managed, how the Magic get into and out of those lineups. Because if you look at the last 2 or 3 games, it's when they break the lineup, when they start adding in Markelle Fultz and Jonathan Isaac and whoever else, and Cole Anthony and all them. It's when they break that lineup that they tend to give away some of the leads that they built. Because right now, the Magic starting lineup is just out there dominating teams. And yes, they're just coming off playing the Raptors twice. They play, they've had some relatively easy matchups with this group. So it's still a little unproven. But the numbers say how good they can be and how good they're playing the opponents that they are playing. And that's going to be a strength as the Magic look to make some noise in the playoffs, because we're getting closer and closer to the playoffs now. We're all thinking about it. We'll go through the final box score, talk about individual performances, including Paolo Banchero's star-making game, another star-making game. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Stitch Fix. With Stitch Fix, you get a stylist who understands your style, size, and budget. They do all the shopping for you. It's the easiest way to update your wardrobe this season. None of us likes to go shopping. Malls are scary. Shopping online is difficult as it is. No one likes to go shopping, but we all want to look good. Clothes do make the man after all. So Stitch Fix is there to help you stay trendy and find the right clothes for you. Easily upgrade your wardrobe this year with a professional stylist who helps you find new on-trend favorites that will work for you. Just give your stylist your size, style, and budget preferences. You order boxes when and how you want. No subscription required. And they send 5 just for you pieces, plus outfit recommendations and pro styling advice. You keep what works and send back the rest. Your stylist always sends just right pieces, and the fit is on point. Stitch Fix makes it all so easy. No one likes to shop, so you save the time and effort. Plus, you get outfits that make you look good and feel really good too. And if you don't love something, just send it back. Shipping, returns, and exchanges are always free. Style that makes you feel as good as you look. Get started today at stitchfix.com/lockedon. That's stitchfix.com/lockedon. stitchfix.com/lockedon. Okay, let's go through the final box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the Toronto Raptors 111-96. As I mentioned, first half of this game, just a carbon copy of Friday's game. Go back. I almost before the Anthony Black thing happened, and we may or may not talk about that. But my original cold open was going to be this game was exactly like Friday. Just go back and listen to Friday's episode. It wasn't. Definitely go back and listen to Friday's episode, but it wasn't. But it was very similar. The Magic raced out to an early lead. It felt like they were fighting kind of their own boredom, and they were missing some shots. This just wasn't a good, the Magic still shoot 50% from the floor, but it wasn't a good outside shooting game. And so it just felt like the momentum play that the team needed to push the lead out and start leading comfortably just never really came, and it never really developed. And so, the Magic were always able to kind of keep the Raptors at arm's length. Toronto did take a lead very briefly in the first half. But it was just kind of one of those games where it was disjointed. The Magic's defense was able to kind of hold serve, but the offense just couldn't blow the game open. Not until the third quarter. Again, I was a little dejected and angry with how the Magic played on Friday. I was a lot more pleased with how they played tonight. I think early on, especially late first quarter, some of their defensive communication was off. But the rest of the game, the Magic's defense was just really dialed in, really locked in. They got steals, they got deflections, 18 turnovers for 18 Magic points, 60 points in the paint, 11 fast break points. The Magic did all the things that they usually have to do to win. And so this was, I was really pleased with the adjustments that they made coming off of Friday's game. If this was like a playoff series for them, it was a nice little test on that. If we're going to call it that, the Magic, I thought, did a very good job making adjustments and adjusting to what Toronto did, and keeping themselves in front and keeping themselves ahead in the game. So a really solid, is it the prettiest game? Is it an A+ game? No, it was like a B+ game. But the Magic don't need to have an A game to beat Toronto and beat them fairly comfortably. They won this game comfortably, just like they won Friday's game comfortably. So, you're talking about playing to a standard more than anything else. So Toronto, again, 18 turnovers. They shoot just 44% from the floor, 8 for 31 from the 3-point line, just 15 free throw attempts. They did make 14. 11 offensive rebounds is a little high. They did score 12 second chance points. So, the Magic did a lot of good things. And obviously so much starts with Paolo Banchero. Paolo Paolo stepped up his game in moments when it looked like Orlando's offense was stalling out or felt like Toronto was about to make a push. Paolo did what stars do. He got good shots. He made some tough shots. He made some momentum killing stops, some momentum halting shots. Like, he had a really strong game. 29 points, 11 for 16 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, only 1 turnover. He played a really, really strong game. He's really, I thought throughout the course of the game, just took what the defense gave him. Was really, the Magic, made some adjustments throughout the game Friday. They started running him more pick and rolls or started running him as a screener in pick and rolls rather than having him handle the ball. This game, I thought they did a really good job moving him to the high post, giving him the full length of the floor, making it difficult for Toronto to trap him. That enabled him to make better passes. That enabled him to get downhill a little bit more. And so he found his spots to attack this Toronto defense and was a lot more comfortable handling their doubles and triples than anything else. What I love about Paolo is you can run him in any number of ways. You can run him as a screener. You can run him as a ball handler in pick and rolls. You can put him in the high post, the low post, the mid post, the elbow areas, the wings. Like, the Magic moved him around to put him in a spot where he could take advantage of the defense. And he was unselfish throughout the whole night. He wasn't just up there jacking up shots and trying to score. He was really unselfish all night long, found the right moments to attack, scored 14, hit some big shots, hit the shot that ultimately put the Magic up 20 for their biggest lead of the game. Again, hit several momentum killing shots. This is not a game that I think we'll remember in the annals of Paolo Banchero games, but this was just a professional all-star level game from Paolo Banchero. And obviously he's an all-star. That's what you expect from him. But just a really, really strong effort, especially coming off a night that he filled the box score up, but I think left some stuff on the board that he would like back. Franz Wagner, I thought, also had a really nice game. 22 points, 8 for 13 shooting, was 6 for 6 from the foul line, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. He did have 5 turnovers, but Franz, I thought, was really aggressive trying to get downhill to the basket. We're starting to see this a little bit more now, where Franz is a little bit more hesitant to shoot. He was 0 for 2 on 3, so he was averaging around 4 threes per game. Those are starting to come down a little bit. The percentages just aren't there, and there's a little bit of hesitation to shoot with him. That has to stop. Like, I don't care if Franz misses 8 threes. If he's open, he's got to shoot. But I do like that Franz is trying to get to the basket, is trying to get downhill. He will still finish at the basket with really high efficiency, especially for someone as high usage as he is. I really liked his game. Again, turned the ball over a little bit too much, but a lot of that was him trying to get himself to the basket, trying to force his way to the basket. He's got to develop a little bit of a mid-range game, but that's for the future. For now, Franz gave the Magic a huge lift, carried them through their scoring in the first half. Again, I really like Franz's game overall. Not a lot of other scoring around for the Magic. Jalen Suggs, 10 points, 3 for 6 shooting, made both threes that he took, 2 assists, played only 20 minutes. And it was a little confusing why. He picked up 2 early fouls in the first quarter, but as Jamal Mosley usually does, he kept him in, just trusted him to dial it back. Knows that the Magic need his defense and need his defensive energy. But then he didn't play in the second quarter when the Raptors did make a comeback and did cut into the lead. And then ultimately did not come back in with the starters in the fourth quarter. So it's not clear if there's a little bit of a nagging injury, if it was just like, hey, we're just going to get him some extra rest here. But Jalen still played like Jalen. Like, the threes that he hit in the second half were humongous threes. One came off of a steal. He took a steal, went all the way down the other end of the floor, hit a pull-up 3. He is a confident three-point shooter right now, man. Like his three-point shot has done a complete 180 from the first 2 years of his career. He is a confident shooter. The Magic should have a lot of confidence in him. I mentioned this a lot. The Magic like to run Franz as the entry passer to Paolo in the post because they want to dare teams to double off of Franz and have Franz shoot threes. They're doing that a lot more with Jalen now, and Jalen is banging those threes because nobody, everyone still defends Jalen like he's a non-shooter, and he's taken full advantage of that. He had a really nice game. It's curious why he didn't play more, but still just a really nice game from Jalen Suggs. I can't complain too much. Gary Harris, like I mentioned, 7 points, 3 for 9 shooting, 1 for 7 from deep. Those 7 3-pointers were all good looks. Gary Harris needs to just keep shooting threes. It's just not a night where the threes were falling. Magic have a very good record when Gary hits 2 or more threes. So definitely need to get him his looks. Wendell Carter, 9 points, 4 for 8 shooting, a little bit quiet from him. Off the bench, Mo Wagner with 14 points continues to provide solid scoring off the bench. But really not a whole lot else. Cole Anthony, 6 points, 3 for 8. Magic need him to get going with his shooting. He's 0 for 3 from 3. Again, just the Magic did a really good job with balanced scoring. They did a good job attacking the paint. 60 points in the paint. That's really good. I usually say if the Magic get 55, they're probably going to win. They just locked down. Like, again, this is not a game we're going to write home about in our scrapbook. You're going to listen to this episode, and then that's probably going to last. You're going to remember about this game. They took care of their business. Like against these 2 games against Toronto, the Magic took care of their business, and that's all you can ask for. So, again, do I want them to play a little bit better? Sure, because we know there's tougher challenges ahead. But Magic took care of their business. That's ultimately all that matters. They won the games, and they got to do the same thing Tuesday against Charlotte. Take care of their business. Get ready for the big games coming up starting Thursday against the New Orleans Pelicans. On a separate note, however, I want to note this as well. The Magic can officially clinch a spot in at least the play-in tournament on Tuesday, thanks to the San Antonio Spurs victory over the Brooklyn Nets. The Magic's magic number to clinch a playoff spot, or play-in spot, not a playoff spot. The Magic's magic number to clinch a play-in spot is now officially 1. The Nets have 42 losses. The Magic have 40 wins. If the Magic get to 41, the Nets can no longer catch them, and the Magic will officially be in the top 10 in the Eastern Conference. So we have that to look forward to, as well as the Magic should clinch their spot in the play-in tournament at the very least on Tuesday night. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Hilly, Google, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of me still on podcast to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And be sure also to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub. You can find that at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Day 24/7 streaming channel. You can find that on YouTube, as well as on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Day is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Day now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Keep the snickering to yourselves. Anthony Black and Grady Dick are very, very good people who just had a little too much fun after the game. Everyone knows it. It's okay. We can all laugh about it later. Magic fans have been making this joke for a long time. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. For Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, it's been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.